Good morning, everyone. After a slight technical difficulty over here, we are back. I am here with my coffee as always. And Mecca, we got tea this morning, gin in the tea
Tea
then,
in an invisible cup.
in an invisible cup.
Uh,
Yes.
it's diet tea.
God knows what's in that mug. Everybody wonders every morning. So, uh, quite a bit of weird stuff to get to this morning. So, let's start with the good news. Let's start with the Liverpool news first. Um, Harvey Elliott signs a new deal overnight. This is why we do this thing first thing in the crack of dawn, because this had to have an open night, because yesterday it was Kiss that I just butchered his name, signed the contract. We even featured on our site and everything. We were like, hey, it's a new midfield signing. Well, here's another. You want a midfield signing? Here you go. We got Harvey Elliott. What do you make of this ordeal?
I think I believe he signed a contract extension last year already. So the cynic in you would almost think that they're just kind of putting out these new good news things while nothing else has happened on the transfer side of things. But go for it. Harvey Elliott is clearly a talent. He's only 19 still. I always kind of think he's older, which is a good thing for a young player because it means they're playing at a mature level. But he's not the answer to our problems this year, I don't think. So it seems more it's just a bit of feel good news than any real solution to the problems we're having right now.
Yeah, while it might be I don't know, if it wasn't as big of a strain or something like that, and Thiago was going to be out for a week, you'd be like, yeah, you know what? We can plug in Harvey this week and get away with it kind of deal. But A, it's a lot longer term. And B, honestly, the cynic would say, even if it was only out for like a week or two now, he's going to be out for another week or two later in the season. So there were a lot of talks about yesterday about, I love Elliott, and I remember it was the beginning of last season as I saw more of him, Mo, and Trent on the right hand side working together. I was like, man, we can really get something going over here. The danger with this is who plays left, because I am not a big fan of Hendo on the left, as big of a fan as I am of Hendo, not on the left side of midfield. And Harvey's not going to go to the left. So Harvey's, if somebody's going to shift, it's going to be the experienced one. And it still doesn't solve the problem of what happens if something happens to Fab and Hendo right now. There's nobody. So obviously, everybody knowing this, the common sense people knowing this, there are a lot of rumors going around with several midfielders. We were talking about this yesterday, but one with Nunez, uh, God, brain farts in the morning. But after all those talks about the rumors going up and going higher and higher, Paul Joyce comes through and says, nope, ain't happening. And let me not butcher the name anymore. Yeah, it is Nunez. I was like, am I having a brain fart this morning? Confident the Portuguese kid. But yeah, Mateus Nunez, which obviously YouTube videos, everybody looks great. I have not watched a lot of them. He is highly regarded if you look at the scouting reports and stuff like that. But Paul Joyce comes in and pisses on all the rumors and says, nope, Liverpool are not interested. What do you
Probably it's probably a case that they also had a problem at Liverpool saying his name, so they just decided to cut their losses right before it even started. It's we talked about this with agents and journalists creating stories that necessarily don't necessarily exist, just to get clicks or in agents' terms to get interest in their clients. So it's the silly season in the 2-3 weeks before the end of the transfer window. So there's always rumors and counter rumors happening. So I don't know anything about him. I'm not one of those people who's big on every single player in every single league in every single division for every single team or anything like that. But he doesn't sound like a standout player. He's not kind of making waves to the extent that you go, I want that player. I know who he is on my radar. We need somebody who's going to plug into the midfield straight away. Not necessarily an A-list name, but somebody who's certainly known for some impact. Because we keep getting stung a little bit with the under the radar players. that are going to develop that are like near that level. Like I hate to say it again, but with Cato, there was such a fanfare for when we signed him, but he hasn't lived up to that at all. So I would hope that if they're looking for midfielders, they're looking for somebody who will just drop in straight away and take the midfield by the scruff of the neck. In the same way, just as we're talking about Elliot, because I just keep thinking about this. When Steven Gerrard came on the scene in 2000, 2001, you knew right away from the very first 2 or 3 games, this guy is something special. I'm not expecting us to unearth another Steven Gerrard from the academy necessarily, but there's one out there somewhere that was going to walk into the midfield and just say, okay, this is my team now, and I'm going to make sure we win games. Not somebody who's going to show a few touches and go, do you know what? If you give him another year, he's going to be great, because we can't keep waiting for that year to happen for a lot of the players we bring into the midfield.
Yeah, and we've done that in the past, right? Like we've had some players, like Wilson comes to mind, even Kent, like almost there. Like, is dinner ready yet? It's almost done. It's almost done. Set the table, and you set the table, and it's just they never make that the last step, I guess, to be a regular at the field. And that's going back to Keita, by the way. Let me answer this. I always get criticized for not being the biggest Keita fan, but I think partially because is that what has caused some of Keita's issues, the long wait? We talk about doing this with Bellingham, like sign him now, get him like here and stuff like that. Do you think part of it is because there was so long of an expectation, waiting, and we got to see, and they're like, this is the guy they signed. So people started watching Leipzig games, and even if they were not normally watching Bundesliga, they started watching like his games. And with that anticipation and the wait, the expectations keep going up and up and up. It's almost like, set up a situation for him where it was almost impossible to live up to those expectations anyway, unless he came in and like started scoring hat tricks left and right.
Well, I mean, he should be coming in to score hat tricks left and right. That's the whole thing about it. It's a case of, you're probably correct that we built him up in our heads for a year before he came across, but he was doing stellar work for Leipzig, so we kind of had a reason to expect that. On the other hand, though, it's not enough to be on the field for Liverpool. It's enough to be on the field if you're at Everton. It's enough to be on the field almost if you're at Spurs. For Liverpool, for City, I would say United in their heyday, but definitely not now. But for United in their heyday, like big clubs with big ambitions, you'll have a grace period, but you have to be doing the thing that you're renowned for doing, or what you're rumored to be able to do, because otherwise you're just a body in a shirt collecting money, and it's not enough to just be there, which is just to be really old school. This is a thing that we used to say way back in the 80s or the 90s actually, more because we were having that downward slide. A lot of players went to Liverpool and they thought, like, I'm at Liverpool now, I've made it, I don't have to do any more. But that's not the case. You have to do more. You have to, if you're coming in as this really talented midfielder that's going to dominate the midfield in England and dominate Liverpool's midfield, you have to go do it on paper. You have to come out of each game with all the correct numbers, and not just, do you know what, another few games, he just needs one goal, he just needs one assist, and then the rest will happen. Because it never happens. That's the reality of the soccer game. You have to do the thing and not talk about doing the thing.
Yeah, because Chris Scott says Wilson was just really unlucky that he came of age during one of the best teams ever. And I think that goes back to, the challenge of, being in Liverpool and being in City. You are not going to get like a lot of opportunities to be able to kind of like show that, yep, I'm ready for the big scene. So
I think though, to be fair, Harry Wilson's problem was that he looked like he came straight out of the 1920s. He had the body of a 1920s footballer, the face of a 1920s footballer, and the hairstyle of a 1920s footballer. Just straight from the coal mines onto the field.
I don't know. I feel like, and this is what my main concern with Harvey, but he's so young still that, he has some time. I mean, Trent did not look the strongest guy too coming into the league. That was the thing with Wilson. I think he got shouldered off a lot easier. And it's not always heights. Like Mo is not a tall dude, but he's strong as hell. I mean, Sadio was the same way. Like they had good, they had the ability, despite their height, to hold off people and not get shouldered off. And I just did never see that with Harvey. And I guess that's kind of like slightly my concern a little bit with Elliott down the road. But I think he's so good on the ball and his movements on and off the ball. I think like the off the ball movement is a lot more important even where he's playing now. And I think he does a lot of that. So I hope so. I mean, I really was very excited to see more of that, the triangles on the right hand side with him, Mo, and Trent, like I was saying. And with the injury, when the injury happened, I was like, damn it, man, because we really had something special brewing there. So here's his opportunity again, I guess, because the rumors by Paul Joyce, at least, is he's going to be the one getting the minutes. And, I will have loved to say great opportunity for Ox, which is my top line, but can't say that because he's out as well. And this is like, like going back to, being able to get to opportunities. That's why staying healthy unfortunately is important, because I know like it happened to Wilson as well. In Wilson, really those the people who would play for would rarely get injured. For a player like Ox and Elliott and stuff like that, they will get their opportunities. They just have to be ready when it happens. Like, unfortunately, Ox never is. When the position is there for him to be like, aha, let me show you guys what I can do in midfield. Well, now you're injured as well, so you can't get in there. Well, let me throw more names in the pot over here. I don't think this will be happening. I think this gets resolved because there's two news over here next to each other on the headlines. And one of them is De Jong's agents arrive in Barcelona. I'm just amazed they don't have a tent in the freaking in front of the lots over there so they can go in and out and talk about this mess that is his contract. And on the right hand side, you see Christensen and Kessie. If they don't get resolved by Saturday, I believe is the kickoff for the Bundesliga, they will be able to leave on a free. Doesn't Kessie sound great?
It's easy to say when you're drunk. So that's a great name to have.
That's how you evaluate your talent.
It's not like De Jong or Christensen has too many S's and ends next to each other. I think you just get the impression that won't happen. That something will crop up at the last minute and they'll still be Barcelona players. But two decent players to pick up for virtually free if there's somebody smart enough to do it. I don't know whether it's us though. It's hard to tell because their wages, they could probably dictate an enormous amount of wages if there's no transfer fees being involved. So I don't know. It's another soap opera over there in Barcelona. So anything could happen between now and the next 20 minutes, let alone now and 24 hours from now. Yeah, like good players going free. Who doesn't like that?
Yeah, right. Like just get on it. But I really don't think Barcelona will let it get to that. I think they're just gonna make something happen, some kind of an accounting.
Well, we talked about how they were like the mafia the other day, so they'll probably just send the boys around with two baseball bats to kneecap them if they don't sign on the dotted line.
But something that got missed, I don't know if you got to watch the game. I honestly did not even think about it, realize it was happening. There's just like a lot going on right now where Real play Frankfurt. And did you watch the game?
I didn't even know it was on because I expected it to be in late August, early September, like it always is. Like I never thought that that they brought the Super Cup forward as well. So like it was, I just saw it on Live Score and it was like, hang on, that was on already. So I don't even have a clue how the game went.
Yeah, I don't know. Is it the timing? I don't know, because we're not involved, or I'd rather not see Real for a while because I'm still bitter about losing that final the way we lost it, I guess. But yeah, I just saw it afterwards, and obviously, not obviously, but they won. I mean, they were the clear favorites. I'm amazed, actually. Like, I think that's pretty impressive for Frankfurt to make that run earlier in the rounds of that tournament. They play Fenerbahce, who was miserable last year, and Fenerbahce was giving him a really tough game. They almost won away. They kind of like barely squeaked in a draw and stuff like that. So I did not see Frankfurt pulling that one off initially.
I think though on the flip side is almost like Real Madrid versus Eintracht Frankfurt in the European game is like a game from the 1950s. It's a proper throwback
It
game.
is old school, yeah.
um, but yeah, completely passed me by. I mean, I saw the pictures of them celebrating it a little bit, but it's like it's not even the middle of August, so I think everything's catching everybody out at this point.
I think so, yeah, because I just saw it on the Instagram feeds that I was like, oh, wait, what? It was today? Then I look, I'm like, it's over. Okay, well, congratulations to them then. Well, another thing that I didn't know was happening until I turned it on, and this is sad to say, it is what it is, but I did turn it back off, was the Major League Soccer All-Star game. I don't know if I've ever chatted with you, definitely not on air, about Major League Soccer. How well do you follow it?
I
You know what's happening.
haven't followed it for a long. Like I used to go and watch the Red Bulls because they're not too far away from me, so they would be like my team in that. But I don't. The All Star game, just the whole concept escapes me. It would be I can't imagine an equivalent for the Premier League ever working. With all the disparate players from different teams, it doesn't make any sense to me. So I never, even when I was watching MLS regularly, I wouldn't have watched the All Star game. It's if we think about the Community Shield, Charity Shield, whatever you call it, however old you are, as like a sort of a taster for the start of the season, and it's nice to win it. But other than that, let's not get too ahead of ourselves, lads. The All-Star game is the equivalent to a high school game to me. It's nothing like. So I don't even know. I don't even pay attention to that. Even when I did support it.
I think, like the day before, this is like the background noise in our household where, if we're like getting ready for dinner and stuff, I just turn the TV on and the default is looking for something soccer. And even if it's a Major League Soccer game, I'll just put it on because the soccer is on in the background and we're kind of like watching it here and there and kind of deal. And I know 2 days ago, there was like the skills challenge or whatever, similar like to the dunk contest and stuff like that. I guess they do for NBA. I like that part. I almost feel like, if it was the Premier League, I might have maybe watched it because there would be our boys in there and stuff like that. I don't know what the heck they would do. Honestly, I didn't watch it long enough to even know what those skill challenges and stuff were. But I thought to myself, and I was like, my initial thought is like, who's watching this? And I was like, you know what? I would probably watch it if it was like, guys I regularly follow and watch. So let me ask you this then. Is it just the fact that we cannot, if you're not used to it, you can't comprehend the connection of an all-star game with soccer, so you kind of like short-circuiting your brain when you try to put that together? Or it's just the fact that, like, what made you stop following the Red Bulls or not following as close? Or
to answer the first question or the second question first, it was just time. Like I was coaching full time, so I didn't even see Liverpool games a lot of the time, because I was here, there, and everywhere. But the concept, it just seems like the Harlem Globetrotterization of soccer when you have stuff like that, skills challenges. Like my whole thing, I think America has done a fantastic job with soccer in this country over time, from way back from 94 or 95, wherever it was, when MLS started, when they had the overtimes and the MLS penalty kick out thing where you dribbled to the goal, that kind of nonsense. To getting a product that's pretty much the exact same as everywhere else in the world. But that whole thing of trying to keep the game American, so to speak, with these all-star games and skills contests, exactly like NBA or the what's the baseball thing they do, the home run challenge and stuff like that. I don't think it does the game any favors. The game is its own thing. It's not the most popular sport in the world for nothing. It's literally, as the cliche goes, it's jumpers for goalposts, small kids in the park. That's the beauty of the game, not highly paid athletes basically not taking anything particularly seriously, because who's going to go into an all-star game trying to win it? It's a bit of cash in the end, really, and a bit of exposure. So for me, if they kind of got rid of that, it wouldn't hurt the MLS product. But it's always an attempt to try and make things as American as possible.
I'm kind of torn on that because I know exactly what you're saying. And I think to purists, like, or an actual soccer fan who's been a soccer fan, all their lives, it does feel like, man, you guys are like watering it down, like making it shit. But at the same time, I don't know, like I came to the US in 96, and yeah, it's come a long way in terms of like the exposure of soccer and how much bigger it's getting. So, I mean, definitely heading in the right direction. So it's almost like, well, maybe are they doing something right? Is it kind of like, instead of giving your kids the, big blob of chicken breasts, you're kind of like, you're cutting it into small pieces when they're little, so they can kind of like consume it easier, and then maybe once they start liking it, as they get bigger, they'll freaking cut it themselves.
Well, first of all, if your shit is watered down, you probably want to go to a doctor pretty quickly, to be fair. But
I have the recipe for that: lemon and coffee. You mix lemon with coffee, it goes right away.
But yeah, I don't know. It could be that, but I think the American soccer viewing public, like the native kind of supporters, not us expats that kind of brought our soccer culture to the country. I think they're mature now. I don't think they need the bells and whistles of American sports. I think when you meet a soccer fan now, and especially now, because a lot of soccer fans I know that would watch MLS, they are young players who played in the 2000s, 2010s upwards, who genuinely grew with the game. It wasn't just a new fad or a new gimmick. They genuinely loved the game. They had their teams that they supported when they were kids and still support now. And I think they're mature enough to accept the game for what it is. Because the Premier League is still the most watched soccer in America. It's still like and it's, even though you can get the Bundesliga, you can get Serie A, you can get La Liga, it's still the Premier League, the kind of the rootsy game. 22 burly, sweaty men smashing the crap out of each other over a ball, because it's a very physical game, and then doing the technical stuff as well. And now there's no bells and whistles. They come in, they do their show, they do the game, they do a little bit of post-match, and then they're out the door. And I think I don't think the MLS would suffer from having the same sort of aesthetic.
Yeah, I think it's like I say, I'm kind of torn in the middle, because I know what they're trying to do, but you're right. I think it is but now you can't come back and be like, well, you know what? The Major League Soccer was just to lure you guys. Like the All-Star game was just to make you guys comfortable. Now cut your own chicken kind of thing. But yeah, so what would make
I would watch an All-Star game if it was 22 chickens playing the game. That I would watch that one.
22 chickens? How did you come up with chickens? Oh, 22. That's where the chickens came from. I was like, why chickens? But I would freaking eat it.
I haven't eaten yet. In my defense, I haven't eaten yet.
Yeah, no biscuits. I can tell this morning. Okay. Because the more I said chicken, the more your eyes opened as we went with that conversation. So with Major League Soccer, then, what would make you eat if I chop it? You're not going to eat it, but it's chicken. So what would make you, as somebody who's more, like obviously like people like us who are more really into the sport anyway, you don't need to, I guess, spice it up for us. We're just going to watch the game. I mean, I watch anything. It really doesn't matter, because I love the sport itself. I love the game itself. So, I mean, you've been a coach with younger kids and stuff like that. So sometimes, like while we're at a game, like when you go to these tournaments, when you're at a game, like in between games, while you're like, your daughter's going to come out, like they're warming on the sideline, like, or even during your halftime, I'll turn around and watch the other side. Like I just enjoy watching the game. What would make you, as a fan like that who just enjoys the sport, get into Major League Soccer more? Is it like the quality going up? Is it like them kind of appealing to you in another way? What would make you be a bigger Red Bull fan?
Free pizza always helps.
Chicken for you.
Chicken. But I think it's an old chestnut, but I think promotion relegation would make Major League Soccer mean more for me. It's no fun getting to the. I had this discussion with a baseball / football fan who doesn't like soccer, but and he was talking about, like, in broadcasting terms, who cares about the bottom of the championship game that has nothing riding on it whatsoever in football or in baseball or whatever. And he didn't realize that soccer has promotion relegation in the world, and you could go into the last day of the season with something really important on the line, even if you're the 18th team or the 19th team in the league. So that to me would make it a bit more interesting. I really don't like the franchise concept because it rewards badness, and I can't get my head around that sometimes. So you have the worst placed team will get the first pick in the draft. Like, that doesn't make any sense. You performed badly, perform better, and then get the rewards. So in terms of I can watch an individual MLS game easily and enjoy it and take part in it, but I can't follow it throughout the season, because once you're out of the running for anything, what's the point? You may as well phone it in after that. There's you're not getting anything more except for draft picks at the end of it. I'd rather have some sort of jeopardy when I'm watching sports.
Yeah. So basically, you're saying you're never going to watch Major League Soccer, because I never see that happening, only because the way not the sport, any sport is set up in the US, unfortunately, is kind of like based off of that. Because I mean, if you went to Jacksonville and it was like, hey, you guys just got relegated, they were like, wait, what? So, like, your Jaguars are not there anymore, not in the NFL. They were like, wait, what happened? We were building, though, in 4 years we were going to be so good and stuff. So here's an interesting idea by Chris. What if, instead of Nations League, which is basically FIFA's way of making money off of friendlies, FIFA was like, hey, man, you guys are playing each other. UEFA, I guess. Yeah, you guys are playing each other anyway as friendlies in between. Why don't we we'll come up with a stupid tournament where there's like a little prize for it at the end, and then we'll make some money off of it, off of your friendlies. They had EPL Team of the Year play against La Liga and Bundesliga. See, Chris Scott says he'd watch that during the summer. My instant reaction is that while I would watch it during the summer, or anytime, that goes back to me watching the kids playing in the next field over to my daughter because it's the game. Would I enjoy it? Probably no, because I think what I enjoy it when I watch the game is people going at it, like, or going for it, maybe I should say, right? Like, giving their 100%. I drive my wife and sometimes my teammates crazy because I feel like when you're on that field, you got to be giving 100. You got to be willing. You got to be playing to win, and it should not be. I mean, it should be fun as you play, but the main goal ultimately should be to win. Does not make me always the best teammate. I know it's not my ideal quality, but I would watch it and you would know that they're not giving 100%. They're not going in for tackles and stuff like that. And it would be like, I hate to say it, but like watching Gerard, I've been trying to erase those memories in my head. Every time I reboot, I'm hoping it's going to be gone. Where, Gerard playing in Major League Soccer for like Galaxy, because it was not the Gerard we know. I don't even want to, whereas if you see, like Trent, for example, playing against the League of Things, and they're kind of like, let me pick you up, man. Don't worry about that. I'm not going to slide tackle over here because this is a friendly charity, whatever. I don't think I would enjoy it as much because it would just feel watered down.
The only issue with that kind of idea is that the Nations League happens several times during the year. There's several weekends or weeks, in fact, put towards each level of games. So it probably wouldn't work out to have them playing against each other constantly. But my worry about that would be that anybody who's playing against the La Liga team, all the Barcelona players would be tapping them up. So you'd be looking at this great charity game probably, and then like 2 weeks later, your left back is gone. So it'd be very, very weird. Although to be fair, he's probably at City if a left back is going anywhere, because they're buying up even more apparently. But I don't like the Nations League, as you say, it's a money spinner for UEFA. It's UEFA not getting or seeing the dollar signs in the friendlies that were already occurring, and then saying, well, let's get our piece of that particular pie. But I'm just not an all-star game kind of person. It's just the concept that eludes me. And I'd much rather have even the charity shield, the community shield, whatever it's called now. Even that there's some sort of degree, like Leicester fans and Wigan fans, not Wigan fans, Leicester, because they're probably the last smallish team, not non-big six team to win it. Consider it a trophy. Everton fans would consider it a trophy, although to be fair, they also consider winning $1 on the scratch card a trophy. So let's say less about that. So there's some sort of prize at the end of it, a meaningless game of a bunch of players who play in the same league, playing against another bunch of players in the same league. It'd be like watching the Legends games, like for the retired players.
Yeah,
That's
which
the way
you
I would look
watch
at it.
more for like nostalgic reasons more
Yeah.
than probably the game. You're like,
I
oh,
don't.
that guy.
I just watch it to see all the fat football players, so I can say I have the body of a top athlete.
I can do this, like, or like I haven't even let myself go down. Look at this guy, even he's fat, kind of a deal. Yeah, Chris is like, I don't think it was a good idea either, but he's like, I think when you go back to the MLS All-Star game, now that you were like talking about it, the All-Star concept alone, I just realized myself that, you know what, even in the sports I really like NFL or NBA that I follow, I don't watch their All-Star games. I really don't, because maybe you're right. Like, just the concept does not appeal to me, because it's like I say, it just becomes for shits and giggles kind of a thing, which takes away from the competition part of it, the competing part of it that I actually enjoy. That's probably like, if we're gonna harp on American sports, that's especially not for the NFL. I think that's why I enjoy NFL more, because there's 16 games, and every game means a lot, because there's a lot lying on the line. I think if I had any complaints about all the other sports in the US, like NBA, NHL, and God knows Major League Baseball, there's so many freaking games. I feel like the value of the game is diminished. The competition is diminished. You can just tell by the players when they lose that they're like, ugh, whatever, let's get to the hotel because we got another one tomorrow morning, or we gotta,
Well, that's true in baseball, because they have 500 games a week or something like that. So by the 497, they're probably like, let's just go home.
Yeah, exactly. It's just like, whatever, and I'm sure, like, they're competitive. I mean, they're pro players and stuff like that, but it's almost like built into the system where you're gonna play bazillion games, so you can kind of tell by a player. I mean, we know, right? Like, you see players lose a final, you see players lose an important game in the league and stuff. So we have seen a disappointed and actually a sad player that's like feels for having lost the game. So when you see the other ones, you're like, you don't give a damn, do you? Like, you're just like walking out, kind of a deal. So I think that's what probably gets to me. That's why I don't watch. I mean, the Pro Bowl is becoming more of a joke. They keep changing it. I don't even know what they're doing now, like, because I haven't followed it even like 3-4 years. Chicken, yes, that would be good. That's why I think like everybody watches the what is that, the dog Super Bowl or whatever, at halftime. They have the dogs running back and forth. You're probably watching the Lingerie Bowl, so you have no idea what I'm talking about.
I watch the Super Bowl every year, and that's about it. And then I don't even watch the halftime show because they're usually garbage. But I would rather watch the highlights of the Super Bowl or any NFL game just because it goes on too long. But yeah, the Pro Bowl or anything, it just, the concept just escapes me.
Yeah, same here. Chris says I haven't watched the Pro Bowl in a decade. Yep, right there with you. Any other headlines we missed? We just totally went off on a tangent, which is our what happens.
I think there's two that I like. There's one, like, I think this weekend they're going to have drink breaks because the weather's going to be so bad over there for the Premier League, which I think it's a good thing in the sense that they're starting to look more after the players than they would have maybe in previous generations, especially with things with hydration and heat stroke, and especially with head injuries and things like that. It's good to see that the health of the players is actually becoming something that they're wary of, and I generally don't like to see a lot of rule changes in the game, but that kind of thing really it's a good positive thing to do. And then the second was Fabio Contro has a 1-match ban.
It's a year, isn't it? Is it a game?
Yeah, a 1 year, 1-match ban and a €850 fine, and he retired. He's a fisherman or something like that. I think that was one of the most petty things I've ever seen. But it just makes me worry because I'm pretty certain I owe a fine from when I was a schoolboy player back in 1989. So I hope they don't chase me for that back in Ireland.
I saw that this morning. Yeah, receives a ban for like a 2021 game and an €850 fine. Yeah, and then way after retiring to becoming a fisherman thing. Like, I think that's the way the story is written is weird. I don't know if they just so that they could make the headline something fishy kind of a deal, but I was like, what the hell? Yeah,
I think more professionals should become fishermen after their careers. Like there's far too many of them go into coaching and management who aren't really suited for coaching and management. And then like lower level non-superstar players, like amateurs and all that, who do their coaching badges and things that don't get the opportunities. So more top level professionals becoming fishermen and getting fined. I'm all for that.
Would you watch a fisherman all-star game if it was Premier
I
League
would watch it on television.
fishing?
I would not go within 2 miles of the stadium to watch that. That would be the smelliest soccer match I'd ever come across.
I think like most of those players staying in management is just a way of somehow staying close proximity of the locker room. They just can't let that concept go, kind of a deal. But that's a discussion for another day, because I'm due for my second cup of coffee already. Well, especially Alan and Chris, who were with us throughout, and all those listening. Thanks a lot. See you guys tomorrow morning.